It's 6:06 p.m. We're opening up the City of Paris Planning Commission meeting. Okay, we're good. Okay. I'm sorry. May 15, 2024. And we begin with a roll call.
Commissioner Lopez,
Here.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Here.
Commissioner Gomez,
Here.
Vice Chair Shively,
Here.
Chair Hammond.
Here. Item 4 is presentation. I don't believe we have one. So we move on to the consent calendar. Item 5, Planning Commission minutes for. Oh, Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. And I did have coffee. I probably should get another coffee, right? Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Lopez.
Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay. We move to item 5, consent calendar, Planning Commission minutes for May 1st, 2024. Are there any corrections, deletions? Everybody good? Okay. At this time, we open up the public comments on the consent calendar. If anyone would like to comment on the consent calendar itself, is welcome to come forward at this time. Seeing none, we close the public comment portion and move to the commissioners. Anyone have a motion? Been moved by Commissioner Lopez and seconded by Vice Chairman Shively.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shively,
Yes.
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
With a vote of 5-0, this motion is approved.
Thank you very much. We move on to item 6, public hearing. Item 6A is a scoping meeting for an environmental impact report associated with specific plan amendment SPA 24-05078. Tentative parcel maps 24-05076. Conditional use permit 24-05075. And development plan review DPR 24-00002 and 24-00003. Proposal to consider the following entitlements to facilitate the construction of Ramona Promenade /OLC3. Project consisting of 4 commercial buildings totaling 45,000 square feet on 4.7 acres and a 774,419 square foot industrial building on 36.1 acres, located on the north side of Ramona Expressway between Redlands Avenue and Paris Boulevard. Number 1, a specific plan amendment to amend the Paris Valley Commerce Center specific plan to rezone approximately 36.1 acres from commercial zone to light industrial zone and remove Johnson Avenue and unimproved street between Perry Street and Ramona Expressway. Item 2, tentative parcel map 24-05076, TPM 38606, to consolidate 8 parcels into 5 parcels totaling 48.35 acres. And number 3, conditional use permit to allow a drive-through retail establishment and alcohol sales for on-site and off-site consumption. And number 4, development plan review for review of the site plan and building elevations for the proposed industrial and commercial components of the project. Applicant Mike Nagar and Associates, Inc., on behalf of OLLC Development. The requested action is conduct a public scoping meeting to review, discuss, and provide comments regarding the proposed project for the preparation of an environmental impact report. Do we have any ex parte communications, site visits, or others?
Chair Hammond, I have to recuse myself. I have financial obligations that I received from adjacent property owner.
Okay.
I'll drive by the site regularly.
I drive by the site at least twice daily.
This is on my regular commute on a daily basis.
Okay. You might know it then. Right? Yes, I drive by. In fact, as late as today. He's gone. Okay. No, the door's closed. Okay. I want to remind everyone, and I'm sure you're going to remind them, and we're going to remind them 2-3 times. This is a scoping meeting. We're not here to vote on it. We're not going to discuss anything about design. We're not here to do anything of that sort. It's a scoping meeting for environmental impact report, and we're going to get questions, we're going to get discussion, and anything from the public will go on the record, but we will not be voting on this today. I want to make that clear at the beginning. Right ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you, Chair Hammond, for that introduction. Appreciate that. Matthew Evans, project planner for the Ramona Promenade OLC3 Retail and Industrial Project. And just to go over the purpose of the scoping meeting. So the purpose of this meeting is to provide the project information on the proposed development plan review for the project, the aforementioned project which you mentioned, OLC3 and Ramona Promenade. It's also to allow the Planning Commission, interested persons, organizations, and agencies the opportunity to comment on the preliminary assessment of the environmental issues that will be addressed in the project-specific Environmental Impact Report, or EIR. No action from the Planning Commission is requested, proposed, or required for the project at this time. So here you have a vicinity and zoning map. As you can see, the project site is located within the Paris Valley Commerce Center Specific Plan, or PVCC, as shortened. Project site is 48.35 acres. Location of the project is north of Ramona Expressway, south of Perry Street, between Paris Boulevard and Redlands Avenue, approximately. And again, the zoning there is that Paris Valley Commerce Center Specific Plan. Zone is commercial. So here you just have some, these are some site photos of the project site. This is the north view from Ramona Expressway. Paris Boulevard, northeast view. Paris Boulevard at Perry Street, looking southeast. Perry Street, southwest. And Paris Boulevard, this is an eastern view. So the first thing that the applicant is proposing is a specific plan amendment. As you mentioned, that amendment is to rezone 36.1 acres from commercial to light industrial, with 9 acres approximately remaining in the commercial zone designation. The overall project site plan is, you can see here, there's 2 components of this. Well, there's actually 3, actually. 48.35 acres includes a 46-acre site for the OLC3 industrial project, which includes a 774,419 square foot industrial building, and then the Ramona Promenade Retail Center, which is 45,000 square feet of retail commercial, and a 7.8, I believe, acre future retail commercial site that is just to the west of the OLC3 site. So first, we're going to go over the Ramona Promenade site plan and access. As you can see here, this is the project site that has the frontage onto Ramona Expressway. So your main entrance into the site was the red arrows. You have a signalized intersection at this location as well. And this will be a shared access between the Ramona Promenade and the adjacent commercial property just to the east. And then the yellow arrows indicate other access points into the site and out of the site. So You have a secondary access just to the west of the signalized intersection. That is a right-in, right-out only. You have adjacent vacant property that is also zoned commercial directly to the west, and you have those arrows at the north west portion of the project site indicating you have access, future access for whatever gets developed there. And then opposite side of the property, again, you have those access points into that adjacent commercial property just located to the east. So this is just some of the Ramona Promenade commercial. This is an idea of what the elevations will look like for the project. And then you have the the OLC3 industrial project site plan. And then the OLC3 industrial building. This is just a rendering of it, but it gives you a good idea of what the building's going to look like. As noted in the staff report, we have received a preliminary application from the adjacent property owner. That is just to the east. It's a 10-acre parcel. So we will be providing that applicant with comments on their proposed preliminary application. And just to give you an idea of kind of what's going to happen in the future with that property. So that concludes my presentation. So at this time, I would like to introduce from Helix Environmental, Yara Fisher. She's going to be going over the environmental portion of the scoping meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you. My name again is Yara Fisher. I'm a principal planner with Helix Environmental Planning, and I'm going to cover this portion of the scoping meeting tonight. For this portion of the scoping meeting, I'm going to give a brief overview of the California Environmental Quality Act, the purpose and scope of the EIR, discuss some of the technical studies that we'll be preparing for the EIR, go over a preliminary schedule for the EIR, provide opportunities to comment, and also post the contact information for where to send your comments. So the purpose of CEQA is to inform the public and decision makers about the environmental impacts of a project. So when a project comes in such as this, the lead agency has a responsibility to identify the environmental impacts of a project and try to figure out ways to avoid, minimize, prevent those environmental impacts. And also, if there are significant unavoidable impacts that might remain with the project, the lead agency needs to identify reasons why it could still go forward. The purpose of this scoping meeting is essentially to provide a little bit more information to everyone about the environmental impact report process, identify the issues that we're going to be addressing, and give everyone the opportunity for me to hear some of the environmental impacts of greatest concern that they want to make sure are covered in the EIR. There's also an opportunity to provide input on if you think there should be any alternatives that we should be considering for this project site. We'd also like to hear about those. And of course, if you have any ideas about ways to avoid or minimize or any impacts that you think may occur with the project, we're happy to hear those tonight as well. Again, I think some of you have reiterated, this is really just one of the first steps in the scoping process, so we have a long way to go. So it is really just to hear and help us guide where we're going from here. So the environmental impact report is an informational document. It will have several chapters. It's usually quite long. And one of the things it provides up front is it gives a description of the environmental setting, including regulations that may apply to the project and in the city. It will give an overview of the project, including all of its infrastructure, the proposed uses, including the industrial and the commercial uses, and highlight some of the key objectives that the project is trying to achieve. The main bulk of the EIR analysis is the environmental analysis, impact analysis section. In that section, we identify existing conditions that are on the ground today for a variety of topic areas, and we identify thresholds of significance which help us identify whether an environmental impact will occur. And through a variety of thresholds, we'll walk through whether there are direct, indirect, or cumulative impacts of the project. And any of those impacts, if they are identified as significant, then we do identify mitigation measures that the project would have to implement during, say, construction and/or operation of the project. Finally, once we know if there are environmental impacts, we look for a range of alternatives to identify and reduce those impacts. So something that, say, if there were air quality impacts that were a concern to the community, we'd look at different ways or project options that might reduce those impacts. And then finally, as you get into the final environmental impact report stage, we would put all of those mitigation measures in a document to track to make sure that those were happening as the project moved forward. So we've done some initial analysis and determined that a variety of topics, issues will be identified and analyzed throughout the EIR. We've already received some comments via email, so we know some of these are of interest to the community, including air quality we've heard of, biological resources, hazards, hazardous materials, transportation. Those are just a few that we know are of interest to the community so far, but we will be analyzing all of those that you see on the screen. To assist us in that analysis, we're also undertaking several technical reports with a variety of technical specialists. I don't think I need to read all of these, but they will, some of those key topic of concerns to the community that we've heard, they will have their own separate technical reports to help us analyze those issue areas in detail. So the application is currently in review, but I believe it's gotten to a stage where we determined we could move forward to the next steps of scoping. So back on May 3rd, we sent out a notice of preparation to agencies and also to property owners within 300 feet of the project site by certified mail, letting them know about the scoping period, the scope of the project, and how they could comment. So that period will go through June 2nd. I believe June 3rd is what we have listed on most things. So it says June 2nd up here, but I think we will go through June 3rd. And then for the next several months, we'll be working with staff to prepare a draft EIR. So there will probably be a couple iterations of that draft until they're comfortable with it for releasing for a 45-day public review period. And that'll happen probably in fall. And then as we receive comments from the public or other agencies, we will respond to those comments and hope to bring the document up for, and the project up for hearings in the early part of 2025. So that notice of preparation and the initial study is available at the website listed above. Copies have also been sent, as I said, to all the nearby property owners and agencies. And if you have or want any of those documents and have not received them, you can reach out to Matthew and he will provide those for you. So this is Matthew's contact information. And I do believe that even though we'll be hearing some of your comments tonight and concerns, I think the safest way is for you to go ahead and submit an email or a written comment to make sure it is provided in the EIR. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Does the city, Matthew, did you have anything else to add before I go to the development? Okay. At this time, we open up to our applicant. No comments? If you like anything, just, we know you are, but just state your full name and spell your last name.
Mike Nagar, 445 South D Street, City of Paris. Good evening. I have no comment.
Okay. Are there any questions at this time for staff and or the applicant before we move into public?
I just want to make one request. If we could, within the EIR studies, can we look into whether there's a difference in impact if the project gets built out in stages versus built out all at once? That's my only request.
I wanted to ask, I realized that, can we go to the slide that has all the things that we look at within the EIR, please? Not the ones that we'll be looking at for this specific project, but the one that has them all.
I don't think we have one that has them all up here. What is missing from this is mineral resources, agricultural resources, and wildfire. Otherwise, this is the list that you would see in the typical Appendix G.
So when we're looking at utilities and service systems, correct me if I'm wrong, that also includes response time for our emergency response teams and things like that, right?
I'm sorry, public services is in there, and that's where public services is. And that is not included in the EIR analysis. It wasn't determined that it was an issue area that we were going to be looking at. It was scoped out in that NOP. However, I will let Michael or Matthew respond on they're adding that in or.
So the city did take a preliminary look, and 4 topics were essentially scoped out early in the process. That being agriculture and forestry resources, mineral resources, population and housing, and public services. The EIR will summarize the analysis that's currently in the notice of preparation. However, if this is your opportunity, though, to identify if there are particular issues of concern to you, then those discussions can be enhanced. So we're not saying to you, it's done, we're not looking at it. It's just based on the preliminary analysis, it wasn't determined to require further evaluation in the EIR. But if there's additional information that you would like, then obviously we're going to make sure that we get that information for you in the EIR.
Thank you. I would like that to be considered as a cumulative as well as a proposed, or I know we've had several scoping meetings. I think there was a hotel pretty close by. There's a lot of things coming up. We have new developments further east, so I would like to see what the impact would be, cumulative, including those items that have either been approved or have been going through the scoping process as if they were built out. And also consider that commercial, and I'm not talking filling out full commercial, but having, like when I look at the Temecula Promenade, when I look at Victoria Gardens, it's not just a bunch of buildings, there is a lot of greenery. So not looking, I think, at commercial like we see here where it's just building, 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 or long blocks of buildings, but having a walk space, having things like that. So we have a higher end, look to like the promenade that is in the front section, what that would look like if that was extended throughout all of the development, where we had ample parking, we had several seating areas, different highlight pieces, and not just a structural commercial without, or with the bare minimum in landscaping. So the public services one is really important. I know there's schools in the area, there's schools further in. So looking at those response times, as well as if there's a hotel at full capacity, what would that look like in response times with the traffic? Comparing it, big rigs travel a lot slower as well. So if there's 2 big rigs and it's a 2-way street, what that means for our emergency response vehicles, if they're blocking both roads or both lanes. So looking at like worst case scenarios in every situation. I'll give somebody else a chance and then I'll jump back in.
I wanted to ask, I'm not sure if either staff or applicant can answer this question, but are we allowed to consider the previous EIR and so that we can compare the results from this one, compare and contrast the results of that's been submitted in the past?
That's a great question. This project is starting from scratch, so we're
Okay.
starting over again.
Okay. So can we use it as for historical purposes or reference?
The information is available online if anybody's interested in looking at or reviewing that document, but it's not something that will be included as part of this project because this is a brand-new submittal.
Okay, so if I were to want to make a contrast with the new results and the ones provided in the past, I wouldn't be able to bring it up as a comment or...
Can you be more specific, Commissioner Gomez, and how so? In contrast, you're saying to make a determination on the environmental analysis when it comes time?
Yes, so for example, if I were to see that I wanted to make it sure that it was consistent, right? That the results were consistent, or the impacts were consistent, or maybe not consistent. If I were to be able to do a compare and contrast and use that as a response to either a concern or a suggestion for this project.
So, well, you can, of course, right now provide any feedback, but the EIR for this project would be like, again, kind of what Patricia was saying, a standalone document. So you'd be looking at essentially what was addressed in the EIR for this project standalone, not comparing it to the other one in terms of your considerations for approving or not approving, or adopting or not adopting, or recommending adoption of the new EIR. But you, of course, since it is available online, if you want to take from that to be able to make an assessment.
Yeah, that way that it would be for the record. That's my, I'm looking forward to the future, that's all.
And I think because this is a new standalone project, but we had already analyzed it previously, and we had concerns and had already brought up recommendations for the EIR. So I think that's what we need to go back and review the minutes and kind of, can we request that all those get transposed over, or do we need to go back to our minutes and start adding them individually if the concerns are still there?
Just a reminder, the minutes are not verbatim. They're more of action minutes. So any information that you're interested in looking back to the meeting when this project was considered, you would have to go back to the meeting date and watch the video for that meeting date.
So would it be possible to request that all those concerns be added to whatever concerns we bring up and add the non-overlapping ones, or is that not a good request?
My recommendation would be to bring up the concerns that you have now, because again, if there's any changes in the project from what was last provided, right, you'd want to be able to review this project as it's being presented to the commission before it today, in terms of, again, as it applies to the environmental analysis.
And Commissioner Gomez, if I may, the previous project, the previous EIR was never certified by the city. And the project, obviously, the application was withdrawn, so it was never approved. However, the draft EIR and the final EIR are available for review. You, as a commissioner, can certainly review that even when you are reviewing, when you get to the point of reviewing this EIR. It's not so much a matter of, you know, would this document be inadequate because there's maybe some difference. That would be because everything is going to be updated. Just to let you know, we have a new baseline because there's a new application. But certainly it's staff's intent to make sure that not only are we moving forward with this project consistently with how we've done in the past, but even with other projects. And every time we do a project, we're trying to improve even, you know, the methods of analysis and information that we're providing to you based on the input that you provide. So I think what you are talking about here, what it would really come down to is maybe then at the hearing, you might say, hey, in the previous EIR, you said this, now you're saying why, or you know that, and why is it different?
Right.
You know, and we would then be able to explain that to you. I don't know how much, you know, like I say, baseline's going to be different, and some regulations have changed since then, and all those things happen.
Right.
But certainly, I don't think it's an intent to, on staff's part, to provide something that's radically different than what you saw before. So at least the process and the methodology and everything should be, consistent with what you've seen before.
Right? Okay.
But if you do have
Yeah.
questions, why this, why have things changed if they have? We don't know, it hasn't been prepared, but obviously that's a question you can ask, and then it'll be our responsibility to respond for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, I think we have come to a consensus in understanding what my question was. I do appreciate the patience with me. So having said that, I wanted to add, I just wanted to confirm what Commissioner Jimenez had requested. We're adding sensitive receptors such as the homes that are in the area, those that haven't been built out but will be built out in the near future. We're considering, how many feet are we considering in the impact report?
We don't have, the notices went out to property owners within 300 feet, but there are different, I am not sure all of the feet away, what we'll look at for noise or GHG or energy or hazards or things like that. We'll have to look again at what the appropriate distance is, given how much emissions or other things that we're seeing. So we don't have established number of feet or anything like that for what we're looking at sensitive receptors
We
wise.
can establish that, we can request that now, right? So can we make sure that the analysis includes up to the beginning part of the, which I think would probably be 1,000 feet, of the fairgrounds, because the homes do extend, the backyards, the property line is on the fairgrounds and the lake property. That would be to the east. And then also considering the south, that includes residents as well along that same area, at least 1,000 feet as well, to include those. And we're going to include, traffic, noise, going to include both diesel vehicles as well as passenger vehicles, and peak times as well as, overnight, because we should consider that sometimes having some specificity on what time frame vehicles go through there is also an impact. So the noise on that as well. And if we can also include a timeline, so the time while construction is going on, the estimate, I believe it's a year and a half, 2 years. I'm not sure about that, but, and also 10 years out, what's going to be the impact because of the expected use of a warehouse or distribution center. It would be easier to ask more questions if we knew if there was a tenant coming in. We don't know yet, right?
No, I don't.
We don't know yet. So if we had that information, it would be more helpful for us to be able to ask more specific questions. But since we don't have that information, I would like us to include as Commissioner Jimenez had suggested, the worst-case scenario, traffic inbound and outbound, not just including the expected truck route or, where we should be connecting with the truck route off of Perry Street, but also considering that they will come down Ramona Expressway.
Yeah, I think we'll have to work through the MOU with the city traffic engineer of what to assume, and then we'll do the traffic report per those requirements.
I did also want to, I know we're considering greenhouse gas emissions. I want to see what the impact is because there is going to be commercial and dining areas with outdoor dining areas and a promenade. And I want to know what that impact would be. If I'm having a meal outside and there's an industrial building right behind me, what is the direct impact when I'm trying to enjoy my meal on health, as well as noise right to that line, as well as, I know aesthetics is one of them. So if I'm sitting down, there, I know there's like a portion, when we look at, there's a portion that's open and there's trees, but I would still be able to see an industrial building behind it as I'm driving. With transportation, I think looking too at our truck routes, would that mean adding additional truck routes? Does that mean having to change a lot of those components versus keeping them as is? I know there has to be different upkeep as well when you have roads that are traveled by heavier vehicles versus regular automobile. Just the long-term impact of that, as well as the cost to the city long-term, if we do that, and how often we have to maintain the roads when they're traveled by heavier vehicles versus just a regular family vehicle. Not just immediate, but long-term, because I know that would have an impact as well when we look at that. Just the impact when you're constantly upgrading or the road, then there's closures, there's additional traffic impact. So really looking at the impact that this would have now, as well as in the future, along with cumulative alternatives. I would like the alternative of not doing anything at all, just building those 2 strips of commercial and leaving everything else as is. I think that would be a good consideration, is building out the 2 little commercial strips to the north, the southern portion, leaving everything else as is. Should be, I think I would like that as an alternative as well, not just building a commercial, doing nothing, and just building those out.
I'm sorry, both the west side
Yes.
and the southern?
Yes, and one or the other, too. If we're considering all our options, I know that there's nothing proposed for the northern yet, so maybe just building out that southern portion for now and leaving everything else intact for now. I think that I would appreciate that also as an alternative for now. And just looking at the future with that. So I'll give someone else a chance.
Okay, no. Hi. Thought it was going to be easy. And you come to me. I'm going to be pretty succinct, and we'll go back and forth before we get to the public. One of the things I've done so many sequels in the EIRs, is I'm coming out of my ears for 22 years, so I'm so used to this. But one of the things about this street, and this Ramona, it's a high visibility, high impact, and so we tend to be a little bit more skeptical about projects that come on this street because it's going to, the traffic flow on this street is really better, more than any other, as far as I'm concerned. I don't care what the studies say. Ramona is heavily trafficked. Number one, as with CEQA is required, and I took CEQA, you have to have alternatives. Alternatives you can come up with. The developer may not like them, but you have to do alternatives or this project going nowhere. One, there's several alternatives. One that the city will never agree to is do nothing. Okay. The other thing is if you have commercial, we're talking about changing commercial. Let me go to the site plan. And the site plan shows parking in the industrial on the north and south. One of the alternatives to look at is if you had no industrial or truck parking east and north. One of the reasons is you have a proposed commercial to the south. I don't care if they reduce the number of trucks, that's tough. But east and north reduces that visibility factor where you're looking right from this property onto that one. So that's one alternative. Another potential alternative is all commercial, okay, which is what it is now, and they're just going to have to deal with it. That's one alternative. The other one, if you're going to do this, you have a 774,000 now. Perry Street becomes the main street, and that's where the trucks go. And I went on Perry Street, and it goes down to Redlands. Now, obviously, this project is not abutting Redlands, but if there's a project next to it, that cumulative impact of trucks, and they are going to go down Ramona, the cumulative impact of trucks going that area could have an impact just in terms of noise. I'm going to suggest something, too. She kind of touched on it, but sensitive receptors would be where you have the Ramona Promenade before you build it. So the sensitive receptors would be dealing with noise, because the noise of those trucks, if you're talking about Southern, the noise of those trucks, if it's 24/7, what would that impact the commercial center that's there? If I'm doing an outdoor amphitheater, do I want to look at trucks? So common sense tells you you need to look at that and review that. If there's no alternative in the east and you take the passenger vehicles to the south, how would that look? Would that cut down the total number of spaces if you move the truck over there? Increase the number of passenger spaces? What would that look like? So any increase or decrease in trucks if you moved it to the east side, that's just one suggestion. And the vehicle passenger to the south. Now, your VMTs you're going to be doing. The vehicle mile traffic, there's a lot of traffic you're talking about in this area, and there's a lot of commercial. So you're looking at passenger vehicles. The truck flow of the Amazon to the north, and if you had that Perry Street truck, at least they're joining and they're looking at each other. But when you start talking about trucks on the south, you need to really look at that in terms of what impact that would have. So I would have noise receptors where this Ramona Promenade is. So 1,000 feet away or 2,000 feet away, yeah, or even where they have that on the southeast corner where they have an RV. It's not RV. It's mobile manufactured homes thing. That's important too. But I would do it right there to start with, where the proposed Ramona Promenade is, because that's going to be the noise factor if you don't move the trucks from there. So obviously you have a aesthetic issue. Needs to be looked at. Again, 16, 20-foot wall, that's something to be studied. What would be the sound if you had the wall, if you didn't have it? So it's nice to have trees and things, but that's not going to block sound and noise and air quality. So that's that's a suggestion to review, something like that. And because the pollutants that are next to that area would be automatic if you have trucks driving in there. I mean, the wall is not going to stop that. So you need to look at those things before it even goes, anything else. I mean, that's one of the prominent things and preeminent things that I'm talking about here. As far as the hydrology and all that other stuff, that's way beyond me. But that's another issue because obviously, I'm going to leave that to public. I'm going to leave that to engineers. But those are just two main things that came up for the time being that need to be looked at, and those are possible alternatives. There's probably more, but those are things to look at and determine what makes sense in terms of the noise, the aesthetics, the greenhouse, if you're right adjacent to a promenade. You don't see that anywhere else. You have a promenade, you're not going to see that in most cities. There's a trucking thing. It's just not going to do that. So that's something I'm suggesting that we look at. I think you've covered most of the other stuff, and we'll probably be coming up with some more questions, but I'm kind of getting the ball rolling, sadly. But that's what I do. I'm very, very particular and very specific about stuff, so at least it's not wild. You're going to have stuff that you really got to look at, and that's going to make a big difference in this project if you just move the parking, okay, or don't move the parking, okay. Anything else?
When we look at air quality impact and the geological greenhouse gas impact, is there a radius that we look at in impact?
So the air quality analysis will look at a couple things. First of all, the emissions that are generated by the vehicles traveling to and from the site and any equipment at the site. You will have both regional emissions, such as ozone, for example, is not a pollutant that's generated by the vehicles. For example, the vehicles generate volatile organic compounds, which then combine with oxides of nitrogen in the atmosphere. So that's more of a regional pollutant of concern. So we will be calculating the regional emissions generated by the project, but then also looking at the localized emissions that occur at the site that might then affect nearby sensitive receptors. So looking at multiple things there. As far as, is there a specific radius? For the most part, you're looking for the potential impacts to the, for what's occurring at the site, you're looking at the potential impacts to the closest sensitive receptors, because anything beyond that is even lower for example. So, so you're looking for the worst case scenario here. So there's not a specific radius, it's more a matter of where is the closest sensitive receptor and focus on that. And then if you have, let's say you have a significant impact with that, then you can go even further, find out what is the distance to where you maybe don't. But if you have a less than significant impact at that closest one, then you really don't have to go further than that.
Okay. I would like for us to really focus on that. I know Rancho Verde High School is right up from there. We have 2 elementary schools and a middle school a little bit further in. And the way wind travels out here, that's where we get all our pollutants when we're on campus. So I think looking at those points along with noise, and I know how noise travels because when the bands are practicing, you hear them really far. So if you're having big rigs running that close cumulatively, because it's already there in land that's zoned for that. But when you add the cumulative of additional, and there's a lot of parking spots here, what that impact would be with those noise patterns, the air quality, long-term, and the greenhouse emissions too, long-term.
Right. And just to let you know, greenhouse gas emissions are a regional thing. It's not a localized pollutant. So just let you know, there are localized air pollutant concentrations that will be analyzed, including diesel particulates for, as a toxic air contaminant, and also then similar noise, also localized. Greenhouse gas, though, however, that's not even just regional, that's worldwide, so.
It's the impact on the entire planet. I
Thank
learned
you.
that from you too.
I forgot one other consideration, and the developer's not going to like this. One other consideration as far as the alternatives. I think I've probably made this statement for the last several years on every project like this. You have the alternative I've talked about moving the parking, but also the reduced size of the building. 774,000 square feet does not have to be 774,000 square feet. Unless there's some market demand, it has to be that number. If that got reduced, then that would be measured in terms of the number of vehicle trips or truck trips. That would reduce those emissions. That would reduce a lot of things. Also, then that may make more possible parking on the side. So if you're measuring reduced parking, reduced size of the building, changing that load, all those things can be measured. And that would make a big difference. And then it's just a matter of I'm not saying this is what we're going to agree to or disagree with. I'm just saying that's a potential alternative. And we've had several projects where we said, well, if you reduce the size, what would that mean? It's not saying one way or the other. It's just saying that's a measurable thing as an alternative. And that should be already brought up without even me mentioning it. That's something you should want to do automatically. When you reduce the number of trucks, and because you reduce the size of the building, you reduce the emissions. And when you do studies, you're going to study you're not studying necessarily so much that building, but the trucks, diesel, particulates, and that's the studies that you use. So if you have 770 vehicles or 200 trucks, it's based on 200 trucks making the trips on a certain thing. If you have 50 trucks, you're going to have a different study and different number. So they don't really base it on the type of building. This is non-refrigerated, refrigeration. We're not really looking into that right now. That's a consideration, too. But the number of vehicles makes a difference, the number of trucks. So as a study, at least the people will understand if this ever gets to that point, the number of vehicles and the size of that building would make a difference. So we're just throwing it out that you may already know, but we're just throwing it out for the record. And I think as far as everything else, you're going to study it. You're going to study it in detail. One thing I'd like you to do is just state your name so that everyone here knows who you are. We do.
My name is Michael Brown. I'm the president of Cadence Environmental Consultants, and I am the city's environmental report peer review consultant.
Okay, thank you. You're important. So,
I'm not sure of protocol here, but does everyone understand what Commissioner Lopez asked for? I'm not sure I understood what Commissioner Lopez asked for as far as looking at the impact analysis of different phasing. And I just want to make sure we understand, I get better clarity for myself what you were looking for there.
I was looking at the impact in regards to the construction process,
Okay.
whether or not the whole project's going to build all at once. both buildings or through phases?
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Does that clarify it for you?
Yes.
If it's, okay.
Yes, thank you.
I just realized that the parking was right up against the promenade. I actually thought that was parking for the promenade. I don't know where I got that crazy idea, but I'm just seeing that right now. Speaking of Commissioner Lopez's request for phasing, is there a way to measure the impact of multiple warehouses being built at the same time along Ramona Expressway?
Are you looking for any particular topic or?
Well, mostly, I think most of our concern is the diesel particulates and the noise and impact to the surrounding areas. But I'm interested to see what the concentration would be of these that we've already requested if we're not just focused on one construction going on, but several projects being built at the same time consecutively, because it would be a cumulative impact at that point. So how can we study that as well? Because right now what we're doing is we're trying to figure out what's the best option for the city and its residents. And that's why this is so important. So I think that if that can be added, or if we can work on something like that, because I know it's something that I've never heard of it done before when it's a single project, but just for the sake of knowledge of the impact to the city, not sure if we can do something like that. Because as it is, we have construction going on already, and there's potential more construction going on because this isn't the only project that's being brought up this year.
So the EIR is required to evaluate cumulative impacts. The impacts associated with, multiple projects that have either been approved or, proposed. There are some things that are a bit more difficult to do, such as with the, like you say, the diesel particulates. And the reason that that's more difficult is that the city, like all other jurisdictions within the South Coast Air Basin, rely on the thresholds of significance that have been established by the South Coast Air Quality Management District. The thresholds of significance that the AQMD has come up with are for individual projects only.
Right.
And if your project is below the threshold, then it is a less than significant project impact. And also, the contribution of your project to cumulative impacts is not considerable under CEQA.
Right.
Okay. That's how, under CEQA, cumulative impacts
Okay.
the contribution of the project is either considerable or it's not. So
And if we
that's how-
can't add it to this project, I'm okay with that. We can always discuss it offline to see what
Yeah.
else we can do besides focused on this project.
Right. So, because the problem is, those thresholds do not, for air quality, for any type of air quality, they do not apply to the emissions generated by multiple projects.
Right.
And like I said, we're not the only jurisdiction who
Of course.
sort of, deals with
Yes,
this.
yes.
The AQMD is in the process of evaluating their cumulative analysis methodology. Perhaps they will have that resolved while this is in process, and we might be able to be one of the first ones. But sometimes South Coast takes a very, very, very long time. So
Well,
I
research is time
I can't-
consuming, I understand that.
So what we can do is, sort of work within the established thresholds and everything to the best of our ability,
Right.
To get that. A while ago, I gave a presentation to the city council about sort of this whole thing.
Yes, I
and-
remember.
And everything, right. And unfortunately, at that time, it just wasn't possible to quantify everything. It's extremely difficult and expensive to do, especially for that one, because that was a city endeavor and everything. But, so we will do the best we can with the thresholds and methodologies that we have from the applicable agencies and everything, so.
Thank you.
But for the areas that we definitely can, such as noise, many other things, absolutely. There are just some things that are very difficult, if maybe not even possible to do. But all those that we can, we will do.
All right, thank you.
I also wanted to talk about land use and the cumulative impact, because out of this corner, we're rezoning, we would be potentially rezoning 75% of the commercial area for this property. So kind of looking also at what we have left in commercial within the whole city and seeing what the impact would be of losing this type of zoning. And also, I think in looking at that, I don't know if this is something we can look at, is the potential miles traveled and additional traffic on the roads for long distances. When you're having to go look for grocery stores, when you're having to go look for essentials, you would have to travel further as a resident of the city. So I don't know how we could consider that as part of our EIR. Because if there was a store right there, I don't know if we can, if there was stores there and the residents could just travel there, it would be proximity to, instead of having to go all the way to Ramona, take the freeway, go down Paris, go up Paris, go. So I think that cumulative, so I don't know how it can be worked in, but that is something that I'm thinking as a local resident or even a local employee. Just this week, I've been out for meetings 3 days. We've attempted to go have dinner or have lunch. There's nothing close by, anything that we could go to have a sit-down restaurant to eat or pick something up. We've had people forget their lunches. They can't even make it out to a store and back to pick something up. So I think that proximity and the impact on miles traveled for the residents or proximity to essential businesses, I think, I don't know how it can be worked in or what area it would be impacted under.
So the vehicle miles traveled portion of the traffic study would kind of touch base on that, and they would, as part of any traffic study, that would be incorporated into the project.
And it would be considered within all the alternatives, whether it was commercial versus the conversion versus all the other alternatives as well, when you look at.
Qualitatively, I think that's possible.
Yeah, okay.
Or maybe we could be a little more specific to help it, because when we purchased a home in the area, we were promised that those areas, those commercial spaces, the promise was that they were going to be built out as restaurants and grocery stores. So household essentials. And so because potentially this project is not bringing that to the community, how is that going to impact the residents and their cumulative travel miles or expense? Because it's probably more of an economic, that research that you're doing and numbers that you're putting together. But I think I understand where we're coming from in regards to what we're asking for, because we're being taken away something that we need, and what's going to be the impact now that we're not going to be able to have it, if potentially not be able to have it. So that's where we're coming from at that point, because we buy the groceries. So
Let me try to narrow it down what they're saying, and even more specific. In a sense, that goes back to alternatives. So if you reduce the amount of commercial, your vehicle miles, if it's all commercial, is going to be a lot different than if you have trucks there. So if you're talking about, this gets down to EIR stuff, where if you're going to make this an industrial part, most of it being that, and this is really a promenade, it's not really stores, then you're having a distance that you have to drive, which adds to pollution. So that just means that, and this is for 30 years, guys, there's nothing, but this is something that would be looked at in that sense. So if you took away that alternative and you had a store or things like that in that area, commercial, that would be passenger vehicles. And passenger vehicles obviously are going to have a different pollutant thing than you would have diesels. So I think, Michael, that's more, I think that, looking at it that tone, if you, alternative 1, alternative 2, alternative 3, or even alternative 4, whatever they are, that would be one of those things that is a consideration where, the other projects we really can't deal with, but in this area, if you take away that portion and you make portion light industrial, then you're taking away that opportunity and you're adding trucks where it would be passenger vehicles. And some would say there's a lot more passenger vehicle traffic. Yeah, but they don't have the pollutants that trucks do. So that's what I'm saying is looking at alternative, however this comes out, that would be a very specific area to look at would be alternatives. And so with the losing of the commercial, which we did with the Amazon, I won't even go there, but the losing of the Amazon, which was north of that, then that means because you're reducing your commercial capacity to do things like this, and therefore you're going to have to either drive to farther distances to do that. That makes a big difference. So that makes a difference in whether this project has this gigantic building in the back or whether you have stores. That would be an alternative, one way or the other. I think that kind of specifies it. So look at it in the sense of the change of zoning and what that would impact. And I think that's probably the easiest way to do it and still cover it within this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay. You guys want to take a quick break, bathroom break? Yes. Yeah, we do. Okay, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and we're going to come back to all of these public, so be ready. And we want to make sure we listen to it, but we don't want to have to be sitting here.
The environmental impacts don't outweigh the benefits of the community, they deny it. So then the developer says, no worries, we'll bring it to the city council and they will pass it. We'll appeal it and they will pass it. And then we'll approve it. Rita Rogers was sick that week, so they were not able to have that vote. A bunch of people came, union people came, and then they all left because Rita Rogers wasn't here to sway that vote. So that's why they waited and waited and waited, and now we're restarting. You have to redo the whole thing again. If not, they would have approved it right now, but they couldn't because their time limit expired, so they have to bring it back up. So like when these warehouses get built, these are the processes they have to do. But a lot of the times, the planning commission says, this isn't cool, this is obviously not a good idea. Then they go to the city council, and the council says, this is a good idea, and then they approve it. Yeah.
So when city council does it, then city council has to say, well, this X amount of community members and follow these things. And it's a different just go for it.
Interesting stuff. He lives close to this one. You didn't receive that. He lives not anywhere.
More than just close.
We're like right across the street. Yeah, he's in that community.
My aunt lives there too.
Yeah.
Funny thing is saying, oh, we have to be, mailed out to
To the homeowner, not to renters, which is a large majority of the people that live there. Everybody there rents.
This is so, did they say one single letter
I think to the
to the
owner.
owner of the property?
Yeah.
It's all just considered. It's just two properties, two owners,
Yeah.
two pieces of
Same
mail.
thing with like the people adjacent to you, is like the Dawes community right there off of Dawes. They didn't get notified either. The
Because they're
owner
not
that
within
gets
300
notified.
feet.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
Also, the concern last time, at the last EIR issues, he knows about she received, or she saw, and nowhere mentioned that this is a reason. It mentioned, we're gonna
It's
have to
gonna
work house.
happen, yeah.
It nowhere mentioned that, and I said, I'm going to begin with that. You know that. And then, like, there was that back and forth in that previous meeting.
Right, in December, right?
In December, where the applicant, I acknowledged that, and they said, we're gonna, it's too late now.
Yeah.
It's not too late now.
No, it's not too late now. We could tell them,
Now-
you guys need to let them know that this is a reason. It wasn't about
It
for this
needs to be
specific use. It's
explicitly-
zoned for this.
Yeah.
We already know
I
why.
think at a point, they haven't touched on it,
Yeah.
but it needs to be explicitly known that it's a rezone powerhouse on that. And then also, there needs to be a better way to inform the residents of Calgary's rental market because they're not homeowners and
Yeah,
they're
they're-
300 feet away.
Yeah, they're right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wonder if they did it in Spanish too, or if they did it in different languages, you know what I'm saying? Or if they took in the, oh yeah, there's also, yeah, there's a mosque right there too. I wonder if they notify people who speak a different language than that, if they gave them access to that. We don't. They don't. 5 minutes almost up, they have 15 seconds. No, right? Well, I thought we would have made the comments, but I didn't know they were going to be going back and forth for a whole hour.
It's good. I'm good.
I'm happy about it.
So different.
All right. Yeah. I mean, it's just weird because we already know that this project is harmful, and we know that it's harmful, which is why they needed that sway vote. So I'm just like, let's see how it goes. Yeah, it's for next year, the timeline, yeah. Which is weird, because usually these things get passed in like 3 or 4 months. So I don't be waiting that long. They're waiting until after the elections to see who will get in, if anybody does. Because if they have one person who approach, that goes to the first one will be done. So it's very. Oh, yeah, we've met this person. It was already approved for them, but then they saw that, you know, that a bunch of other people got away with doing all of this other stuff. Why not us?
Okay, good evening. We're reconvening the Planning Commission meeting at 7:16. And I think we've had all the questions and discussions. Okay, okay. And at this time, we will open it up for public comment. I have a list of, unless you have some more to add. I have names here, and I'm going to try to pronounce them. Jairo? Okay. Okay, Jairo Carbajal. I just have it on the top, so.
Just kidding. Hello, commissioners. Give me 1 second.
We will try to keep it to 3 minutes if that is possible.
Yeah, you're good, you're good.
Okay.
So I'm here representing Paris Neighbors in Action, and I just have some concerns about this project, as in what are the projected daily and annual emissions from the estimated number of semi-trucks that will visit the site each day, and how will this be mitigated? What are the cumulative effects from this project on the air quality in the city? How will this project adhere to the City of Paris 2016 Climate Action Plan? How will the influx of the hundreds of semi-trucks and commuter employees impact the traffic congestion on nearby roads and the freeway? And yeah, and also I definitely not for it, but I know it's not this kind of meeting, I think. But thank you guys for seeing your good work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have Michelle Rodriguez. I have the spelling of your name here. That's why I'm not asking a lot of this.
Okay, so I just want to know if native flora will be planted and if the local fauna populations will be taken into consideration, given that they're losing quite a lot of habitat for a concrete block. I also want to know if the residents of Camper Resorts of America and Park Place Mobile Home Park will be notified, not just the owners, but also the people who live there and will be affected by this. And then I also want to know if the jobs provided by this warehouse will be sufficient enough for the local cost of living, given that there's no tenant yet. That's alarming because we already have 14 plus warehouses that are empty in Paris, and this just looks like impulsive building. I just want to say I'm opposed to this project because we already dedicated a colossal amount of land towards the logistics industry. I'm concerned about our degrading air quality effects on our youth. And I'm concerned that in 20 years, Paris will become an obsolete wasteland full of dystopian warehouses that will replace humans with robots. I prefer land use to go towards cultural enrichment, housing, recreation, healthcare, and I hope Paris continues to attract people because of our commerce, our fresh air, and the views of our surrounding hills and mountains. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Victoria Camarena.
Good evening. My name is Victoria. I'm a resident.
So we can hear you. Yeah, okay.
Good evening. My name is Victoria. I'm a resident of Meadow Valley, and I'm here to oppose the rezoning. This area of Paris is full of distribution centers. The traffic down Cajalco and Ramona is unbearable. The air quality in our community is only getting worse. I would like this land to stay commercial. We don't need any more warehouse development in Paris. Regarding the EIR, I would like the following to be addressed. What are the cumulative effects from this project on the air quality in Paris? And how will this project affect the traffic congestion on nearby roads and freeways? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jillian Menez.
Hello, my name is Jillian Menez. I'm also representing Paris Neighbors in Action, and I'm also a resident, and I go by this area often, very, very often. I want to first thank you guys for being so thorough in your questions. It really makes me feel a lot more comfortable as a resident of Paris to see these kinds of questions coming out of the Planning Commission. And then I do want to echo a lot of the concerns and questions that I want addressed on the EAR, and I've heard elsewhere as well. I would like the EIR to address the cumulative impacts of not just this warehouse, but all the other surrounding warehouses and of the almost 100, or we may have passed that already, warehouses in Paris already. I want this specifically to take into account the projected greenhouse gas emissions, nitrogen oxides, and then also particulate matters, 2.5 microns and below, aka PM 2.5. I also am very concerned for the residents. I have family that lives in Camp Resorts of America who have no idea about this project because she doesn't own the entire property. She owns a trailer and she rents in it on that property. And that is 300 feet away from the project. So I think that is very important to inform them of this project properly and not just the property owner who may or may not care to inform their tenants. I also have a question for staff or developer. I know that in the past, when this was brought to the Planning Commission, there were concerns about the flyers that were sent out to residents that was detailing the project and that it wasn't properly addressed that this is a rezone. So I would like to request, I know it's our EIR, but that the fact that it is a rezone is properly addressed on flyers going out to community, and I would like to request that there is more back and forth and maybe even like a seal of approval from the Planning Commission or just the city to make sure that that is properly, people are properly notified of that fact because that is very essential. Again, I want to thank you guys for being so thorough. I will send many more concerns through email. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Okay. Oops. We have Sylvia Terrero.
Hi, my name is Sylvia Tercero, and I'm a resident in North Paris in the May Ranch neighborhood. I would like to thank you guys again because you have asked a bunch of questions that I've had prior regarding this project, and I would just like to echo some of your concerns that you brought up, such as the cumulative impacts of the pollution that this will create. How will this impact the residents near the area, including the ones that are one block away in the mobile park by that Ramona and Paris, as well as the Camper Resorts of America. I would also like to voice my concern towards habitat loss. It has been the greatest threat to biodiversity in Riverside County, and I was just wondering, will plants in this project include native plants? Because native plants are the backbone of our ecosystem, so I would like to have that addressed in this project. Also, developing this tract of land will require transforming it into a large impermeable surface. Taking into account the area's arid climate and drought susceptibility, are there any plans to include water capturing techniques like berms and swales in the landscaping? Also, concrete buildings and asphalt roads trap heat and radiate accumulated heat throughout the night. What impact will this have on the residents that are close by? Again, the trailer park nearby and the camper resorts residents. And how will this be addressed? And also, given the project's promenade area that we'll have in the front, what traffic calming measures will be implemented to slow down traffic and prevent pedestrian injuries? Because, this is a project that is promoting outdoor spaces, and how will traffic mitigation solutions be brought forth to prevent these things? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have Carlos Cervantes.
Hi, good evening. My name's Carla Cervantes. I'm a co-founder of Paris Parents for Clean Air. I'm a member of Paris Neighbors in Action and the founder of Mead Valley Coalition for Clean Air. They're all grassroots organizations, so we do this for free because we care about our community, and we didn't see a lot of action from the council members, so I'm really glad that you guys are advocating for us and doing your job, which is a really nice breath of fresh air that we could get, because these warehouses are not giving us fresh air, they're polluting our air. Anyways, I would like to request that this environmental impact report be completed by a third-party company that's not affiliated with Optimist Building Partners, because it doesn't make sense for them to be able to research their own pollution. We've seen it with other projects, specifically the giant warehouse that got approved next to the preschool in Rob Reiner. They didn't have concrete answers for us when they did get approved in the end, which was due to city council. But regardless, I do want to know how many trees specifically, if there are going to be any carbon emission absorbing trees in that area. I want to know how this is going to affect the wildlife that use this corridor to go to Lake Paris in that area. If it's going to affect them, how it's going to affect them, and what are the measures that are going to be taken in order to help them. Also, are there going to be more notifications, not just the 300 feet, because that's not enough. This isn't going to just affect the people that are 300 feet away. It's going to affect the entire community. So I do feel that they need to do more, because this is going to affect a lot more people. This project will be placed in one of the primary entrances to the city. How will this project affect the property values, citizen morale, and the perception of our community? How will the height of the building affect visibility and clash with the regional landscape? How will the proximity of the warehouse portion specifically affect the residential area? How will the warehouse disrupt the visual appeal of the region? We do have the Olympics coming up, and I know that when people pass through our city, they're gonna go to the lake, and it's gonna look ridiculous. It's gonna look ugly. It's already looking that way right now, so I don't understand why we have to have over 700,000 square feet specifically for an industrial building that wasn't made for that. But let me continue with these questions. What are the projected daily and annual emissions for the estimated number of semi-trucks that will visit this site each day? Or how many trucks are gonna be passing through this area daily or even hourly? What are the cumulative effects from this project on the air quality in the city? What impacts will this project have on local pollinator species such as bees, hummingbirds, bats, flies, beetles, small mammals, wasps? Yeah, that's all I have right now. And I'll email the rest. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have Franco Pacheco.
Hello, my name is Franco Pacheco.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Can we please reset the timer to when the speaker begins speaking and not before? I would appreciate it. Thank you. So we need to reset the timer right now. And once it's reset, when you state your name, then the timer will go off.
Okay, thank you. Hello, commissioners. My name is Franco Pacheco, co-founder of Paris Parents for Clean Air and member of Mid Valley Coalition for Clean Air. There's a recent report from the American Lung Association that ranks Riverside County number 2 in ozone and particle pollution in the area. And I would like to see this EIR address how this warehouse is going to contribute to possibly making us number 1. Also, I would like to request that the third party for the EIR not be affiliated with Optimus or the City of Paris and have a third party conduct this EIR. Also, what would be the effects of another warehouse in the area to the natural recreational park of Lake Paris, which is a state park, and how it will affect the recreation and the natural wildlife in that area. Also, I would like to see how this warehouse would affect the residents coming in and out of Ramona from the May Ranch and Nuevo area coming down, because it's already congested with traffic. And this 774,000 square foot building, how is that gonna further worsen that problem? How will this affect the local pollinators, such as bees, hummingbirds, bats, flies, beetles, small mammals, and wasps? And also for the plan, I would like to see, like Commissioner Hammond said, more alternatives instead of the warehouse. Maybe expanding the promenade to that whole area, which it would include grocery stores, because the only promenade I ever go to is the one down in Temecula, and it's surrounded by grocery stores, fast food chains, restaurants. There's a Costco right there. I have to go literally down south like probably an hour just to do something here, right? So I don't understand why the developer feels the need to put an industrial building there. I mean, maybe I do understand the reason why. Maybe for his personal gain, personal money. It's easy money. Also, I would like to ask if in the EIR, can we include, if this building is built, this warehouse, how will our summers here affect those workers in the building when they build a big concrete warehouse like that, and the risk of heat dehydration amongst the workers in the building, the workers outside, and even the radiant heat into that promenade area where people are going to be dining. I would like to see another alternative, maybe an outdoor landscape park that, you know, can be associated with the promenade and the adjacent other future commercial projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And Alex Meza?
Good evening, that's me. I want to thank the members of the commission, first off, for their very poignant lines of questioning, which I hope will lead us in the direction of an environmental impact report, which, regardless of any circumstances, will hopefully allow the commission to continue in its mission of hopefully offering firm recommendations based off of truths in our observations. I hope that we will be firm for the sake of our constituents who still have the capacity to believe in your track record and vision for the city, if you will commit to consistently acknowledging those realities which are facing us now. There are many concerns had by the residents of this city in the immediate vicinity of that project in particular, which can't be quantified in a way that would be considered pertinent enough for the environmental review. But since things like traffic are considered, I think that there are a lot of overlapping issues which do cause us to run the risk of degrading our economy, degrading our local lifestyles as residents, and even our character as a city, I might add. We already have a glut of warehouses, and certain things do end up happening when you have this kind of stubborn over-reliance on massive industrial development as opposed to anything else. Just the other day, about a couple of days ago, just outside the city limits, over 160 pallets of stolen merchandise valued at over $1.4 million. Everything from food to industrial-grade tools were seized during the service of a search warrant. This warehouse operated illicitly under the auspices of an organized crime ring dedicated to retail crime and also trailer cargo theft. So we have a lot of warehouses that we don't even necessarily have a customer for at the moment. It's a lot to keep track of. That's one aspect that, you know, I think that we haven't really looked at, and I know that this isn't really necessarily the place for it, but regardless. As far as environmental impact, as far as people being notified of the compilation of a report, of the potential decision to rezone in this way. I am a resident of the Camper Resorts of America. I will say that, you know, of course, the mobile home parks and the camper resorts, the trailer park, they're both being, you know, lumped in as to large commercial properties. You know, the owner, regardless of whether they were contacted, whoever was considered the owner, whoever got that individual piece of mail, none of this information was conveyed to any of the hundreds of families living there, including, you know, large number of retirees, asthmatics, young children, pets, newborns. I mean, you name it. And the only, you know, crime these people ever committed was not be the owner of the land that they're sitting on, including people who paid many thousands of dollars to raise their families in those mobile homes. So I would ask that we consider all the different alternatives. I know your job is to offer those kinds of alternatives, so I hope that we will find different ways to use the commercial space in a way that is good for traffic, good for the resident.
Thank you very much. That's all the submitted ones, and if anyone else who did not, you don't have to submit this, but anyone else has a comment they'd like to make, they're welcome to come to the podium at this time. Okay. Okay. Just state your full name since I don't have this, your full, and spell your last name for us.
Just a little stage fright. Resident for about 10 years now, on and off. Right now, I currently live just up the street, easily walkable here. So this is not just like a driving concern, but also because I would like more modes of transportation, but at this point, they are not really available. So building a promenade strip mall, as you can probably call it, it's very inconvenient to walk there. So the only mode of transportation to go is driving my car. And that could not really be accessible for most people. Like some people don't have a driver's license. I was lucky to get a driver's license just last year. And I still don't really fully trust myself all the way, but I do get a lot of practice. I do drive to work, but to have the option to ride a bicycle or even walk would be a lot better. And for the industrial building itself, what can I say? I do not support this rezone. I feel like the land is zoned for commercial right now, and that could bring us a lot more better, what's it called? Better opportunities for shopping or spending in the city. Because right now, all of our shopping, like say my family, we do all of our shopping out of city. And it would be really nice if we could have more commercial opportunities in the city, because we do all of our shopping out of city. We have to go to any city such as Menifee, Temecula, Murrieta. We have to do all of our shopping out of city. So, it's not very convenient on our end, and I'm sure I can speak for many other families because, it's very expensive with gas money, gas prices at this moment. So, yes, that's all I have to say right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? If they say speak now, forever hold your Okay. Okay, we close the public comment portion of it. And if the developer at this time, or applicant, would like to make a comment or whatever you'd like to say, you have it this time.
Well, I'm very pleased members of the community came out. We've heard all of your comments. We'll address them accordingly, and thank you for having the scoping meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if we need to come back to we can come back to the commission for discussion if you like.
I can start. get this going. I appreciate the member comments because they can either help us analyze what we want to say, what we're looking for, sometimes missed opportunities. For example, I learned today, I wasn't aware that that the residents from the Campers Resort were not getting a notice. Do they have do they each get do they have a box where they each get individual mail there? Do we know how that works? Okay, so it sounds like we do. So if there is registered voters that live there, who reside there, who get their mail there, utilities that go to school here, why have we not made sure that they are part of the process. I'm hearing, so can we work on that? Staff can work on that and make sure that they are being delivered the notifications that they deserve?
Yes, if we have access to their mailing addresses, and, because the requirement is for the notices to be sent to property owners and occupants. But if we don't have registered addresses for occupants, it's difficult for the applicant or staff to be able to send information via mail.
Okay, well, I believe that we've done a very nice service for that resort there by putting up a beautiful block wall. I think we should definitely reach out and with the owner and figure something out so that each resident can get the notices. Let's see, that was an opportunity that I saw. The heat traps was a very good point that the public brought up, the public comment. It just reminds you at night that you do remember that you walk out and the sun is gone and you feel the heat coming up from the concrete or the asphalt. That's another very good point, something that we do need to look into. I like the idea of the third-party EIR. Can staff please tell me if that is a possibility and how that would be accomplished?
The city's policy is to require the applicant to provide the environmental documents that the city reviews. Michael Brown is an extension of staff, so essentially that enables the city to ensure that the environmental documents are prepared in compliance with all the CEQA requirements and regulations and codes in the city. If the community would like to hire somebody to do a peer review of the document, that is an option that they could consider, but the policy is for the applicant to provide the environmental documents and for the city to conduct the review of those documents.
I see. So there's a partnership between the one being provided by the developer that is being paid for by the developer and the city, either contracted consultant or employee reviews it alongside to make sure that it's accurate. Okay, I appreciate the answer to that. We did forget to mention native species, the impact on native species, the ground squirrels, the owls that we have, the ground owls that we also have in the area. It's there? Okay, perfect. It's already there. And yeah, that's it for me. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, I also had a few aha moments as I was listening to the community, and I'm really glad they came out. I was the one that brought up the flyers the last time because I remember that I got it and I was like, promenade. And there was nothing about rezoning. I haven't gotten that flyer so far now. So I think just making sure, and I know I've requested that, if there's a way for our staff to look at those flyers before they go out, because it was the same issue with the other one getting off the freeway where there wasn't a direct transparency with our community, which I feel they deserve. In saying rezoning 75% of this land, rezoning whatever it is. And I think, I'm thinking, because, I also have an advocacy background. I think there's a lot of community members that have access to family members or live within the camper community. And having worked with advocacy groups, I know that if the developer were to hand out flyers to them, they would be more than happy to go knock on doors and hand them out. So I think that there's a community outreach opportunity. And I know that if that was me, I'd be out there handing out the flyers too and answering questions and inviting people to come to these meetings. I know we didn't look at recreation within the EIR. Somebody brought up Lake Paris as a recreation, and it got me thinking. I know we just opened another little jumping place out here in South Paris in a commercial location. So if we converted this, we're missing out on opportunities of having escape rooms. One of my first one, not so long ago, and I escaped. I know I was shocked I escaped because it was beautiful. There's jumping places, there's bowling, there's movie theaters, there's, I think about, what is Dave & Buster's where you can go play video games. Like there's so many opportunities for recreation that can be used within commercial use. So the escape room I went to was in Rancho Cucamonga because I, like a lot of our residents, don't always hang out here. We went to Victoria Gardens and there was one close by. So I gave them a lot of money. I was there with a lot of friends. I'd rather give our city a lot of money to have fun. I know our youth has to travel far. There's nothing for them to do, places for them to hang out. There's no local pizza parlors or places for them to just go congregate, get together, study. So I think recreation is impacted by potentially rezoning and not using it. So I don't know if that's something we can connect with the EIR, because I didn't see that specifically as a condition, but I want us to focus on potential uses of recreation within commercial use and the missed opportunity of that. So thank you, community, for bringing up such good questions.
Yeah, I just echo that. I think what I would do and make it more formalized is the protocol. I used to work for city government, so I know how you work. The protocol for actually getting out information to people may be that, but what is this? And it may be a city manager question. What is the protocol for if you have individual residences? You have an apartment complex, everyone has an address, but if you have something like the resorts, what is the standard protocol, and that's going to come back to you guys, of reaching those people? If it means physically going, sending a city staff to do that, and putting on there, you may have to do that. But because it's not always the case, but these are separate items, and what is the city's, I don't need it tonight, but what is the city's protocol? What is the city's procedure for doing that? I had one. I would physically do it myself in LA. But, but that's the city of Paris. I know you have a protocol, but these are specific circumstances that are outside the norm. So you may want, that's a decision for a level that's even beyond. But it's important because if people aren't notified, you're not going to get them in favor. That's for one thing. And so you don't want to just say the owner may or may not, decide to distribute information or may decide they don't feel like it. You don't want to take that chance. There could be going around. I know who one of the managers is. I know the name. You sit up here. But the idea is you can't really rely on that. So that may be a protocol thing that we need to know. Because putting it on email, that doesn't work. So that's a thought, I think, too, as consideration. One of the second issues of the cumulative impact is we're also talking about, one of the things they're talking about is these things that are being suggested, that would be part of the alternatives, commercial. So are these realistic alternatives? Whether we agree with this, whether we vote on this, is irrelevant. It's just that alternative is something, as opposed to that, is that feasible? And that's only for the developer to do. But in terms of commercial versus the other, now you're looking at what impact on Ramona Expressway. So you have passenger vehicles going up and down the street, the trucks are going on Perry. We hope they don't go down Ramona. But the idea is that impact, changing the parking, all those things we brought out would be part of that study. So if you're going to look at commercial, that's more specific for him and that group. But what that makes sense, but that's one of the alternatives. Also reduce building size, moving part, all those things are considerations because this is what the community is looking at. We've been waiting on the grocery store since, I've been here 34 years in Paris, and they still don't have a grocery store on that street. So you drive other places, and people from May Ranch drive down south to Winco. And, you're talking about driving, you're going to do it because you don't have a choice, okay? So, or you go up LaSalle from Evans to LaSalle past one of your favorite schools, to go, used to be a Ralph's way up there. Really? Okay. So nothing wrong with Cardenas, there's nothing wrong with Stater Brothers, but that's in my area. You still got to go a distance. So if we're talking about reducing, we're going to have to start talking about those. That may be council level, city manager level, planning directors level to start bringing in some kind of discussion. So when we get to this cumulative impact of not having it means you have farther distances to drive. When you have warehouses, you're going to have trucks. So you're kind of reducing your number of building BPs. So that affects everything else. That's what we mean by cumulative. When you don't have that, you drive farther distances and you pollute anyway. So that is more of a general cumulative impact of not having commercial versus having light industrial. So that's why you get all the kickback about changing zoning, because once you lose it, it's gone. So that's why we say, let's look at alternatives. Whether we go for that or not is irrelevant tonight, but at least look at them. That's all we're asking for. Okay? I think I made that pretty Okay? We good. Okay, so there's no vote on this. We're going to move it on. We thank the public for closing this out. And we appreciate all the comments. I think they got them down because they're going to have a long list. And you still have the email because it's still open till June 3rd. Yeah, June 3rd. So comments can be addressed to Mr. Evans. Not his home number, not address. We're not giving that out, okay? Don't get any ideas, okay? That's not going to happen, but we appreciate the public response. And with that, thank you very much. All right, where are we at here? I know.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I was waiting to see if it.
Wake him up.
So she doesn't have any corporate donations like Farmhouse does, but she lives here. She doesn't live in Temecula like Ruby Marcus does. She lives here, and she isn't just doing this because we're here. She's been advocating for a long time. So she got tired of it, and she mentioned her concerns to him.
Okay. We move on to item 7, public comment. Anyone who wishes to address the Planning Commission regarding items not on the agenda may do so at this time. Please walk up to the podium if you have a comment. Wait for the chairperson, me, to recognize you. I don't need to go through speaking clearly. That's a little. And of course, the 3-minute rule always applies. And with that, it's time for public comment, if anyone has any public comment. And once again, you state your full name and spell your last name for us.
Hi, my name's Franco Pacheco, Pacheco. I just want to thank the Planning Commission for being thorough again. This is the second or third one I've been to, and they do have a high standard, which brings me to another point just to address the commission. And I know you guys work together with the city and addressing staff and everybody involved in planning the city. I just want to let you guys know the people of Paris, we're pissed. We're tired of warehouses. We're tired of having to come up here and tell the council why you guys are approving warehouses? Why can't we have this? What are you doing with all these funds that we have in reserve? And it seems like we're not getting anything. So I want to call on everybody from staff to the Planning Commission to everybody here tonight to use your influence, use your networking to convince council and to get the ball rolling to move the city into a different direction. Because I grew up in this town and I grew up in a time when there was nothing here. We didn't have warehouses here. But we had a big problem where our youth had nothing to do. We're running amok in the street. Now, we still have the same problem of our youth has nothing to do, but now we have warehouses. And warehouses employ second chance people, which there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody deserves a second chance, but that does invite a lot more crime in the area and stuff. It seems like every week there's a big traffic accident, somebody dying on Ramona, Cajalco, on the 215, a semi-truck. So I just want to make sure that, you know, everybody here hears the residents and hears the people, here's what we're saying. And any council members that are listening or watching on this feed tonight, to know that, hey, Paris residents, we're pretty mad, we're pissed, and this is a long time coming, and we want to see a real, equitable, physical change in the direction of the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Since we're off through, state your full name and spell your last name for us.
Hi, my name is Jairo Carbajal, Carbajal. I wasn't planning on coming up here, but yesterday I noticed the city posted their meeting on Instagram. I don't know who this is supposed to be addressed to, but there's nothing for today's meeting, so maybe whoever's in charge of that, maybe they could get on that and not just post a council meeting, because I think you guys are as important as the council, but maybe... Because it was great, you know, because we have our own account. We have to go do this posting, and it's kind of, I don't want to do it, but I'll do it because I like it. But maybe whoever you guys know is in charge of that, maybe you guys could have your commission meetings posted as well. I think it's great. I think it's a good opportunity. A lot of people don't know that meetings are happening. And also as well as getting them advertised on the marquee, because I know we heard from a couple people already. It's like, well, we have it advertised, and I think Franco said he sat out there and watched it cycle and he didn't see anything before. So maybe we could get that. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know where this is supposed to go, but I might as well bring it to you guys. But if we could get that, because having meetings posted on your guys' social media is very helpful. And, you know, maybe, I don't know where you guys could get into this part, but having the agendas is kind of hard. It's confusing, but a little bit of help on that part for like citizens, because it's like we have to go and dig and figure it out. But thank you so much again. You guys are great, and it's awesome. And we have been watching meetings from years and years and years ago, doing a lot of research. So we've been noticing you guys are not just putting a face right now for us, which is awesome. You know, I know you guys are doing your job, but I really appreciate it. We have gone through a lot of years of meetings, videos, so just know we've seen what's been there and what hasn't been there, and for the most part, I feel very, you know, cool about you guys. The other people, there's two people I feel cool about over there, but, well, that's for another thing. But thank you so much, and good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. And as always, just state your full name and spell your last name.
Carla Cervantes, last name Cervantes. And I just wanted to echo some of the sentiments from my neighbors here. We're really thankful that you guys are being so thorough. Like they said, we have been doing a ton of research. I mean, years and years and years back. So it does feel really good that you guys are advocating for us and you guys are doing your job. I know you guys have to collaborate with City Council a lot. So I know when we first started coming to these meetings, we came in really hot and really heavy. And you guys took it with grace, and you guys have been completely phenomenal, and just the way that you guys are saying, hey, you know, this isn't really a good idea, or this is a good idea, or making sure that you guys are advocating for the entire plan of the city, and more importantly, us as the constituents that are here. So we really do appreciate it. I do hope that you guys can continue to use your influence. I know you can't necessarily control council members. I wish you could. I wish we could too. But we're going to continue to come to these meetings and hopefully see real change in our city, because we deserve it, and you guys deserve it too. I mean, we bumped into you at Stater Brothers not too long ago, and so I know the struggle of not being able to see so many grocery stores, which is why it's always packed there, because we don't have a lot of places to go. So seeing that this warehouse will be built in an area where there really isn't any warehouses there isn't any grocery stores nearby. There's a ton of warehouses nearby. So we really do appreciate you guys continuously advocating and seeing things for what they are, instead of seeing how they would fill your pockets with campaign donations the way we do see in the council. So any council members that are watching, we would speak to you guys this way if you guys were to be respectful, but you're not. So this is why we come to the Planning Commission to thank them. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. I know it's redundant, but state your full name and spell it out. That's for our wonderful recorder here. So
All right, again, thank you very much again, folks. That's Alex Mesa. That's M-E-Z as in zebra A. So I just wanted to maybe finish off some of these less related, less directly, pertinent comments with some remarks about the potential uses for commercial buildings. Now, since this is the Planning Commission, I just thought this might be an idea to float around, not even necessarily for this case, but just in general, as a rule of thumb. I think it's actually one of those things that might be really useful to consider. In any area where we think that we're going to have a larger commercial development, something along the lines of a promenade, somewhere where we expect a lot of people to come in their park and walk around and spend a long time there, or maybe walking in from some of the nearby residential areas using means other than coming in on their personal automobiles. In this case, I mean, yeah, that's also very relevant because the RTA's Route 19, kind of the flagship route of the RTA, does have stops right there, so that's very important to note. But overall, what Moreno Valley did up at the Moreno Valley Mall, I thought was actually a great idea to kind of reinvigorate the place and help use it as a little bit more of an accessible public space kind of for everybody, and to bring a little bit more business in, however humble it might be, which was to take one of the suites in the mall and just convert it into a small public library branch, not the main one for the city or anything, but just to have that as an extra draw, to have this little bit of symbiosis, right, between the public and the private, just to get people to come out a little bit more and feel more comfortable about going out and having a good time, because oftentimes people nowadays, especially those without as much means, those of the younger generation as well, we don't really have big allowance every Sunday to go, blow at our favorite place. More than anything, we might want to actually kind of use our time in a way that is mixed, in the same way we kind of like our developments to kind of have a use that's mixed. And so that's something that I think that this city could, consider in the future, given that we have the one public library branch, but a lot of funds for it that haven't really been touched in a long time. They do need to be used for other things. This may be the first time I've ever brought it up, but I'm privy to these things because I do dedicate a lot of my time to conserving and working with some of the lesser known, history of the city that we've been preserving at places like the City Archive building, which used to be the original Bank of Paris. That building definitely is a piece of work. It is legally an archive, and so there are a lot of funds that are for the library that could be used also perhaps for the renovation of that, but that'll be a discussion for another time when we have enough time left for public comment.
Okay, thank you very much. That's it? Okay. Okay, this time we close the public comment portion. Move to item 8, business. I don't think we have any business items. Okay, and then we move on to item 9, commission members' announcements or reports.
We just had a Mother's Day this past weekend, so I just want to give a huge shout out to all the awesome mothers that are here. Maybe some in the audience as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Spend time with your children and your family and your mothers, of course. So. Yeah, I just want to give you guys a shout out. And I want to thank the public too for coming out here and voicing your concerns. It's very important that you guys come out here and continue to do this. It just makes me happy to see you guys be involved. No further comments. Thank you.
Excuse me. I'd like to thank our staff for putting together the information and for continuously having patience with us. With our questions and our inquiries, and sometimes trying to gauge what we're trying to say, and you guys are very, very good at that. So I really appreciate it. I'd like to thank the developer for taking the time and coming out here and presenting the proposed project for our city, and the residents that are here with us and we've seen them come more and more to these meetings, and it's impressive because having families, having jobs, and being consistent with being here, not only to planning commission meetings, but also to city council meetings. It just shows you their dedication and how much they care for the city of Paris, and that they share with us. So I really appreciate that. Any announcements on my part? I mean, gosh, wish I could put them all into 3 minutes, but I can't. But definitely just, I know that there's the 4th of July celebration around the corner. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be our 2nd annual. That was something really nice that came to our city that I really appreciate. It was needed, it came, and we don't have to rely on sitting on our back porches to watch the fireworks from the lake anymore. So that's really nice. So, but there will be fundraising. I think I mentioned this, but the church was invited to fundraise at the Cinco de Mayo festival. And I'm very happy to say that the city was so happy with the outcome and the food that they've invited us back. They invited the church back to sell at the 4th of July festival at the Morgan Park as well. So I was very happy to hear that. So those kinds of relationships, it just gives us more of a community feeling, and it makes us bonded, and it makes us care more about who we're surrounded with our neighbors and our friends and our family. So thank you. That's all for me.
I also want to thank all community members for being here. We heard from very many, but there's a few very quiet ones in the audience, which are equally as powerful. You all play different roles. Some of us are more outspoken, some of us are more reserved and do a lot of that background work. So I just want to recognize community members that maybe didn't speak, but are here just to show support. That speaks volumes. And if we're being seen and recognized in public, I can't go out like I usually do, but still say hi. I really liked having community and having that connection to how we can use commercial. And I remember when my daughters were younger, I live in North Paris. It was hard, and they love libraries, but it's far. Yeah. So having something like that up north, because they could go to a library and stay there for hours, check out a bunch of books. And I think now that they're older, they would still maybe do that for research, to connect, to build community. My oldest is going to school to be a historian, and she wants to be an archivist. So I didn't know that we had something like that in our city. I'm trying to connect her to like different places. I didn't know we have that within our city, and I've lived here for years. Also, I think one of the beautiful things within our community here is that local shop owners, local commercial owners support the community. I know our school does a lot of fundraisers at the Yogurtland, and they have like different schools on different days. So if you go, say, are you hosting a fundraiser tonight? Whatever school, because that helps the students. Even if you're not affiliated, I know that Yogurtland, Chipotle, Pyology, those in that center do a lot. So if you ever do have extra spending money, because everything's so expensive now, just ask, are you holding a fundraiser? I would like to contribute my purchase to that fundraiser. I do that even when it's not for my school. I'll just ask because I want to help support our community, not just my small little community. But I also want to thank staff for translating our ideas so that they make sense. Because I know sometimes they make sense in our head, but they don't always translate when we put them into words. So I think having that communication and that relationship where you understand where we're coming from, you know what we mean, maybe taking what we're saying and applying it in a different way, connecting it. Special thank you to Mr. Brown for always being so patient with us, answering so many of our questions and being attentive. I've learned a lot from you in your very patient way. And also our developer, and I know he will be hopefully reaching out to the community, creating those opportunities for us to come and give feedback. I wasn't able to last time, so I would like to see more of those, hopefully when we have developments like this. And even, I don't know if we can host here, even out here, and having some in the north, that might be one of the uses if they do spot for community members just because they want to go and connect. And I think really maximizing. Our community is a community. We're not just a city like any other city. We really have a sense of community. It really feels like home when I come home. And I want to make sure that we maintain that and we don't corrupt that or lose that in the weeds for different purposes. Thank you.
Long time no hear, Jack.
Yeah, it's a quiet day today. So, I want to thank the staff and our guest here for coming out. Appreciate you guys always showing up. Looks like it's a group of about 14, 15. I'd love to see one of these days the whole audience filled up, as the Walmart days did for us. But it'd be great to see this, and I appreciate you guys' turnout. It means a lot to us that we're getting through to our messages as well. Thank you very much. I did enjoy the May the 4th/Cinco de Mayo event that the city of Paris had. Enjoyed some music, some food, some nice entertainment. Watching a lot of the young dancers. A young boy was, I'm not sure what kind of dance it is, tossing the daggers around and doing some dances and stuff like that. It was quite entertaining. So I appreciate that, and I'm glad the city holds those events for us to all to come and enjoy. So, thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna real quick. 2 hours. No, I'm just kidding. I thank the audience. I always say this: there's two sides to every story. So you always want to present, and we want to hear from people, and that's what the commission is, a mediator. And we try to be reasonable and respect people. So respect opinions, and we respect that. And we, whether or not the next level, we're just giving it to them. But we want to make sure that we thoroughly investigate. Some people get mad. Some developers get mad. That's fine. Okay. We've raised the bar since I've been on this. The bar has been raised very high. We have a reputation. I go League of California Cities. Oh, at Paris. Good. I want you to be like that. We're not competing with Menifee, but we're saying our city, we want to raise the bar. So we want to look out for the residents. We don't want to just rubber stamp things. You're never going to see that. I'm putting it on record here. We're not just going to rubber stamp things. One of the things I will say real quick about development, one of the ideas, and he's talked about library, but I go a long step beyond that. And this is happening in Riverside, and Moreno Valley is going to be doing this eventually. You're eventually going to have to look at these commercial properties and start putting housing on them. And in that housing, you ask the residents, and this is why important, give me an artistic design, a mural that you can put in the ground, and that's how you get the community involved. You go to the residents and say, okay, we're going to have a section here. We'll have a statue. We're going to have now that's how you do it. I worked in LA, you had to do that. But they don't seem to understand that, so you end up with this antagonistic thing. Get to the community, whether they, I know they want to make money, we understand that. But if you're going to have a plaza, talk to the community. Maybe they want some specific design. Maybe that community gets involved. Maybe May Ranch wants to say, we got involved, like the park, Enchanted Hills, right? Yes. Look how they did. The whole community got involved in that park. 1,000 people showed up, and I was there that day. Why? Because they helped to design. They did the murals. And the park and the city was like, wow, I've never seen that many people at an event in the city of Paris. 1,000 showed up. And I had to leave because I just said, I'm out of here, man. The lines are too long for food. But, that's when you get them involved. They went to the schools. The school said, I'm going to paint this mural. My name is on it. Look, DJ, my name's on the wall. That's what you want. Commercial. We need to push. If you're going to do it, put housing, could be townhouse, and then you walk to the stores. You walk to the plaza. You walk to the amphitheater. That's what we need to be talking at you guys' level. What are you going to bring to the table? Or you're just going to bring a 700,000 square foot warehouse. So I'm just saying, it's up to them, but we have to encourage that communication. And I know it's hard for some. Some really did a good job, like Nevada and Ramona. They did a good job. They went to schools. They went to homes. It takes that effort if you want the project to go anywhere. But if you don't involve the community, you can put up a beautiful building and nobody goes in the community center because we didn't have a part. Okay. I was in LA, they'll put up stuff in East LA, they involve the community, nobody touches the building. Because the community put it up, you're not graffitiing it, nothing. And these are some of the worst areas in the nation, not touching it because we were part of it, gangs. We painted it, we put the murals up. That's what I mean. So it takes that extra effort to take that step beyond. So there's a lot of ideas. I'm not coming with all of them, but that's one idea. Housing, and then you have that walk right in that space. You may want music lessons, you may want library, you may want an art class, you may want yoga. I'm too old for that. But you may want things like that in there, but that's a community decision, right? So whether it's May Ranch, whether it's my area on the west side of town, whether it's your area, whether it's yours, when you involve the community, you get input, and then you don't have to come in an antagonistic situation when you get to the next level. That's just my input for so many years. So the more they do that, the more they understand that, you don't have to sit here and it's yelling and screaming going back and forth. Did you talk to them? No. So then you come to us, what are we supposed to do? You didn't talk to residents, what do you want us to do? Okay. I think on May 23rd, and I think you're going to talk about that. That's the State of the City address. First one I'm going to have to miss because I have to take a vacation with my wife. I have no choice. No, I don't mean that. Oh my gosh. That's the anniversary, so I have to do it. It's not, no, I like doing it, but you show up or you're in the real, literally, doghouse. So, but I hope we'll have some representation there. And it's a great thing. I've been to the last 5, I don't know how many. But it's really good because the city has some great things. The city has still a ways to go. But the city has some great things they've done. It's beautiful events put on by the Chamber of Commerce, who I know the president very well. So if you can, and I'll turn it over to you. I see it's under 2 hours. Right?
Almost.
Almost 2 hours.
Just kidding. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, commissioners. You stole my thunder. State of the City address, May 23rd at 5:30. So stay tuned so you can find out all the wonderful things that we're doing here in the city of Paris. On June 5th, our next Planning Commission meeting, we're going to have two items. One is a mix. It's a project that has a mix of uses. It has commercial, hotel, self-storage facility, and a warehouse, a 498,000 warehouse. And this is located on the north side of Ethenac, east of Green Valley Parkway. We also have a Jack in the Box and car wash at Harley Knox and Paris Boulevard. And just a reminder, we're going to have ad hoc nominations too on June 5th. So start thinking about if you want to participate and be part of that committee. And lastly, we're going to have, I know I mentioned last time that we're going to have a presentation from the representative from the League of California Cities today, but unfortunately he was not able to make it due to unforeseen circumstances. So he'll be scheduled to do a brief presentation on June 5th. Just a reminder, on May 27th, City Hall will be closed in observance of Memorial Day holiday. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
What's this? You get a day off as city employees? Come on. Okay.
Believe it or not, we work on our days off too.
Okay, we'll give you that. Okay, well, I want to thank our interpreter there. Hey, he's still awake. All right. Yeah. And of course, I always thank Sylvia sitting here. She's wonderful. She's still awake. I've known Sylvia a long time. I'm not going to say how long either. One thing I will say, too, to help you guys, too, in terms of information about who sends things out, go to Judy Hane, the city clerk, because they're actually official documents that where they're posted. So you may want to go over there. I've known her for 22 years. So go over there to city clerk and say, okay, how does this information get out about meetings? Because they're the ones that rubber stamp it. Your city manager, a great city manager, is another person to go to. So that's the one to pause. So, so I would go to those two names and say, okay, if it's not reaching people, what is broker out? Talk to those two people. This gets on here because of the city clerk. So all these 00002 that I have to read, I have no choice, is documented there. And they say, well, how does it get it? Well, we post on the city web. Ask, how is it posted? Where the address is? Where does it go? So I would start there, and that would be my suggestion. Okay? And with anything else, I think we're done. We will adjourn. Thank you very much for your patience, and we will see you. Well, you guys will see each other hopefully May 23rd. Okay, I'll miss you, but yeah. Right. And with that, we have adjournment, and just like the council, you pick anybody you want. Mhm.